And when I came to the first house, a white brick mansion, I pushed a lit up button and heard bells. The enormous door with the gold handle swung open, and a woman in a pointy high heels came out carrying a huge bowl full of Hershey bars and silver wrapped chocolate kisses. I couldn't believe my eyes. I felt the incredible warmth of the big fireplace inside. I stood staring, forgetting to say trick or treat. The woman smiled and dropped a chocolate bar into my paper bag, then a quarter, and then a whole handful of kisses. And it was the same at the other 5 mansions we visited. When we got home, I put my treats from the other side of the town into a second bag, leaving the sugar tortillas and carrots and cucumbers in the first one. And when Lucy asked for some candy, I showed her the first bag. The next day, Mama told me to come with her to Doña Virginia's. I saw that her house was the same one that had given me the sugar skull with my name on it. We went inside and found Don Chuy, her husband, who took us to a tiny back room. There we found Doña Virginia under a pyramid of covers, her eyes closed and hardly breathing. Mama opened her purse and took out her plastic bottle of holy water. She poured some holy water on her fingers and then made a sign of the cross on Doña Virginia's pale forehead. Don Chuy quietly asked us to come to the kitchen for tea, which he made by boiling leaves from his orange tree. He brought a plate of white sugar skulls to the table. "These are Virginia's sugar skulls," he said sadly. She got up really early yesterday morning to make a big batch of them. She wanted to make sure she had enough for all the barrio kids. I insisted she go back to bed, that she was too sick. I said I'd go to the store and buy a bag of candy, of chocolate even. But no, she wanted to give the kids something connected to the Day of the Dead. October 31st is so hard for both of us, her especially. Our son Luis would have been Sophia's age by now. Sophia, do you know that the souls of children get divine permission to come visit their families on October 31st? The adults come on November 1st, and then they all depart again on November 2nd for another year. I shook my head. Don Chuy touched my head and told us how Doña Virginia had dragged herself around the kitchen, making pan de polvo and hot Mexican chocolate for Luis, and a pot of pozole for her parents. Don Chuy took us to their tiny living room and showed us a makeshift altar in the corner, with 2 flickering votive candles, orange marigolds in a dime store vase, and small statues of the Virgin of Guadalupe and other saints. Don Chuy pointed to some black and white photos. "This is my son Luis. Those are Virginia's parents." He lifted the lid off a ceramic bowl. I smelled the chiles and pork in the pozole Doña Virginia had cooked for her parents. There was a cup of hot chocolate and a plate full of sparkling pan de polvo cookies for Luis, his favorite treat. I also noticed a red wooden top, a small stuffed bear, a bottle of tequila, and a cigar, as well as a glass of water, a cross made from lime peel, and a salt shaker on the altar. Walking home, I asked Mama about the altar and the things I had seen there. She said that Doña Virginia's son, Luis, and her parents were coming to visit for just one day. The lime cross was to direct them home, the salt to purify them, and the water for them to drink along their way. And once they got home, they would feast on their favorite foods and drinks. When we got home, I found Papa at the kitchen table reading Don Quixote. Lucy was fast asleep. "Ah, mija, show me your Halloween candy," he said, smiling. I went and got the bags from under my bed. "Why do you have 2 bags?" "One has the stuff I got around here. The other has the candy bars and quarters from the other side of town. The next thing I knew, I was back in the car, but this time with Papa. I'm taking you to the cemetery to show you something magical about this side. The cemetery was strangely aglow with lit candles and sprinkled with orange marigolds. I felt fear, not magic. Papa, I don't want to get out of the car. Look, he said. In the cemetery, people were talking, dancing, and playing guitars and singing into the tombs and eating from plates piled high with tamales and other foods. Had some of these people come out of their graves? Maybe Doña Virginia's son Luis and her parents were now over at her house visiting. I thought about the sugar skull she made for me, the one with my name on it. Papa smiled at me and started the car. I wish we lived on the other side of town, I said, looking out the window at the darkness. Why, mija? Because they live in nice houses, and they're warm. Ah, but there's warmth on this side too. But it's really cold at home, and most of the houses around us are falling apart. Yes, but we have our music, our foods, our traditions, and the warm hearts of our families. Remember how the comadres all got together and found a way to cure Lucy, and with just one old broom? And it was something those rich doctors couldn't do. Sometimes I thought Papa was from another world, especially when he talked like this. Don't worry, mija, he said as he stopped the car in front of the house. You'll see what I'm talking about as you get older. I walked into our cold house, nodding and shivering.